अच्छयोरावृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजम् शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शञ्चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्तिः 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 सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः सहस्राक्षः सहस्रपात् स भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा अत्यतिष्ठद्दशाङ्गुलम् पुरुष एवेदगं सर्वम् यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यम् उतामृतत्वस्येषानः यदन्नेनातिरोहति एतावानस्य महिमा अतो ज्यायागिश्च पूरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वाभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवि त्रिपादूर्ध्व उदैत्पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामत् शासनानशने अभि तस्माद्विराडजायत विराजो अधिपूरुषः स जातो अत्यरिच्यत पश्चाद्भूमिमथो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत वसन्तो अस्यासीदाज्यम् ग्रीष्म इद्मः शरद्धविः सप्तास्यासन् परिधजः त्रिः सप्तसमिधः कृताः देवागद्यज्ञन्तन्वानाः अबध्नन् पुरुषं पशुम् तं यज्ञं बर्हिषि प्रोक्षन् पुरुषं जातमग्रतः तेन देवा अयजन्त साध्या ऋषयश्चजे तस्माद्यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः सम्भृतं वृषदाज्यम् पशुगस्तागिश्चक्रे वायं यान् आरण्यान् ग्राम्याश्चजे तस्माद्यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः ऋचः सामानि जज्ञिरे छन्दागुंसि जज्ञिरे तस्मात् यजुस्तस्मादजायत तस्मादश्वा अजायन्त ये केचोभजादतः गावोह जज्ञिरे तस्मात् तस्माज्जाता अजावयः यत्पुरुषं व्यदधुः कतिधा व्यकल्पयन् मुखं किमस्य कौ बाहू का भूरूपादावुच्येते ब्राह्मणोऽस्य मुखमासीत् बाहूराजन्यः कृतः ऊरू तदस्य यद्वैश्यः पद्भ्यागं शूद्रो अजायत चन्द्रमा मनसो जातः चक्षोः सूर्यो अजागत मुखादिन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणात् वायुरजायत नाभ्या आसीदन्तरिक्षम् शीर्ष्णोद्यौ समवर्तत पद्भ्याम्भोभिर्दिशः श्रोत्रात् तथा लोकागम् अकल्पयन् वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसस्तु पारे सर्वाणि रूपाणि विचित्य धीरः नामानि कृत्वाभिवदन् यदास्ते धाता पुरस्ताद्यमुदा जहार चक्रः प्रविद्वान् प्रदिशश्च तस्रः तमेवं विद्वानमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्था अयनाय विद्यते यज्ञेन यज्ञमयजन्त देवाः तानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् ते हनाकम् महिमानः सचन्ते यत्र पूर्वे साध्याः सन्ति देवाः अभ्यः सम्भूतः पृथिव्यैरसाच्च विश्वकर्मणः समवर्तताधि तस्य त्वष्टा विदधद्रूपमेति तत्पुरुषस्य विश्वमाजानमग्रे वेदाहमेतम् पुरुषम् महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णम् तमसः परस्तात् तमेवम् विद्वानमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्था विद्यते जनाय प्रजापतिश्चरति गर्भे अन्तः अजायमानो बहुधा विजायते तस्य धीराः परिजानन्ति योनिम् मरीचीनाम् पदमिच्छन्ति वेधसः यो देवेभ्य आतपति यो देवानाम् पुरोहितः पूर्वोजो देवेभ्यो जातः नमो रुचाय ब्राह्मये रुचम् ब्राह्मम् जनयन्तः देवा अग्रे तदब्रुवन् यस्त्वैवम् ब्राह्मणो विद्यात् तस्य देवा असन्वशे ह्रीश्च ते लक्ष्मीश्च पत्न्यौ अहोरात्रे पार्श्वे नक्षत्राणि रूपम् अश्विनम् व्यात्तम् इष्टम् मनिषाण अमुम् मनिषाण सर्वम् मनिषाण ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषा वहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 Pardon me. We will complete the verse number 9 that we have been doing now for several weeks. The 9, which says Tam Yagyam Barhishi Praukshanna Purushan Jatamagratah Tena Deva Ayajanta Sadhya Rishayaschaye. So this is number 9, and I think we are pretty much done with all the key concepts on it. So one thing that I would like to add to the definition and the explanation and the importance of the Sadhya Devata. So we will finish doing that, then go over to Rishayaha, and then I think the whole verse will be complete. So as you remember, the Sadhya Devata and also the Sadhya Purushaha. So the jivas like you and I who want to be like Sadhya Devatas. That's exactly what all the purpose of the yajnas is. That whatever our chosen Devata or Devi is, we want to be like that. In the sense that all their qualities that has made them into Devatas and Devis, I want to have those qualities. And why should we have those qualities? Because the Sadhya Devatas are very near Ishvara. And so it's a kind of like a, transference of the quality. So just like you have fire, whose swarupa is heat, and then something very close to it, like a metallic vessel, is something very close to the fire, because it can now imbibe the qualities of fire. And then on top of that, you have the water in the pan, which gets heated because of the pan, and the pan itself is heated by the fire. So in this manner, Ishvara is, in this example, the swarupa of Ananda. And the Sadhya Devatas are like the metallic vessels that are very close to the fire, Ishvara. And so they also become very happy. And the Sadhya Purusha, that through the yajnas are trying to be like the Sadhya Devatas, are now progressively getting happier. So it's kind of like, if you put some water into a pan, metallic pan, and slowly the heat of the pan, which comes from the heat of the fire, starts to heat up the water. So it is like Ananda. And so in the beginning you may not be very happy, but slowly you become happier as you become more like the Sadhya Devata, who are already very close to Sadhya, to Ishvara. So this is the process that we should think about. So here one thing I wanted to add, so having explained this process one more time, there's nothing new in what I said, just a revision. One thing more to be added to this is an aspect of what we have already studied, which is samarthyam. So samarthyam, as you know, again a revision, is the ability to be functionally efficient and happy. In other words, it is the ability, self-ability. Samarthya means the ability. So the characteristic of the Sadhya Purusha is an increasing amount of samarthyam. Okay, that being the case, that's something we've already studied. But one thing I would like to add to that is a very important, very useful concept to study. Really speaking, the going over of the Purusha Suktam should strike you as something that one can do. It's very practical in that sense. That's the whole objective of the Vedantic reading of Purusha Suktam. Our life should really become that. And we will not be convinced of it until we understand exactly how. So in terms of samarthya, I'll give you an example. Okay? So, as you know very well, one of the definitions and epithets of Ishvara, Parameshwara, Paramatma, is Satya Sankalpaha. We say Satya Sankalpaha. And even in the case of some Mahatmas, Jnanis, who have really become, who have had Naishkarmya Siddhi in their life, they are also called Satya Sankalpaha. So what does that really mean? In terms of Samarthyam, we should understand this. So Satya Sankalpaha means that whatever they decide to desire or to do, it becomes true. Satya Sankalpa means a idea that this is what I would like to do. This is what I'd like to think about. This is called Sankalpa. So the Sankalpa, as you know, in our lives, we think about a number of things, but they don't all come true. But in the case of a person who is a Satya Sankalpa, there's no such disparity between will it happen or not. It will definitely happen. It's called Satya Sankalpa. So now the question is, how does the Satya Sankalpa related to Samarthyam? Important thing to see. So what it said is that in the beginning of the one's life, and I can just tell you my own life in this manner and so on, you do not have as much samarthyam, you do not have the ability to go through and fulfill your desires. So you make all kinds of desires and projections. I'll do this, then I will do that, then I will buy a home, and I'll take a mortgage, and then I will change jobs. All those kinds of things. So we have some desires, and some of them come through and some of them don't come through. But generally speaking, our desires are in excess of our ability. I remember this. This was a friend of mine, Bhatnagar, who was a childhood friend of mine. So he used to tell me that his parents say, first deserve, then desire. I remember those words very clearly. And they did not really gel with me, Now they do, but at that time I said, why? Why can't you desire anything? The reason you should not be desiring anything without the competence and the samarthyam is because unfulfilled desires are a cause of unhappiness. That is the thing. So in the beginning of the life, as it happened to many of us, I don't know, but certainly with me, a lot of the causes of unhappiness in life was because your desires were in excess of your samarthyam. Then what happens is, as you begin to think about the lessons of the spirituality, Vedanta, and from other sources also, the disparity between samarthyam, your ability, and your desires diminishes. And I can tell you that in my life also. Now, of course, part of it is that I have now gotten some of the basics of life that I wanted to have, and now I'm retired, so it's not as though I'm superior to anyone or anything like that. So my situation in life is better. But certainly, the explanation of how the happiness in the life increases now has become very clear to me. So here's the bottom line on this. I'm just giving you a picture. So what happens is that part of this becoming a Sadhya Purusha is Samarthyam. We have went through like 4 or 5 different things in the last couple of weeks. One of them was Samarthyam. So the Samarthyam means that in more mature stages of one's life, one matches one's desires close to what one's abilities are. And as a result of that, you feel happier. And I can tell you that the proportion of my desires that have been fulfilled has gone up quite a bit in my life. I can just tell you that. And it's not as though that I've got some special powers or anything. So look at it that way. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I now know what is likely to succeed much better than before, and I limit my desires to that, and much higher proportion of those get satisfied. And I feel good about it. There's a certain satisfaction that I did something, and it is all leading your own life, your family life, or starting classes, or finishing classes, or teaching classes, whatever it is. Everybody's activities are different. All I'm saying is that the Satya Sankalpa, the proportion of Satya Sankalpa increases. In Ishvara's case, it is total. In our case, it is relative. It's not total. It's not absolute. But you can feel, my goodness. I mean, sometimes I feel just like it is the power of Ishvara working through me. But I feel, wow, whatever I touch, it becomes true. So it's not as though I'm a yogi or anything like that. It comes to the fact that I won't even desire things that are not likely to succeed. So this is an important thing to see. The matching of your samarthyam with your ichha, your kamana, the matching of that is a recipe for happiness. And aided to this is what I went through the last couple of classes, praptasya prapti. So it is not by chance, it is the fact that really Ishvara is working through you anyway. And you are the one, we are the ones who are frittering away the presence of Ishvara by looking outwards and desiring things that are not possible. And I would add one other thing to this whole phenomena of samarthyam getting you closer to Satya Sankalpatvam. And that is, if your desire does not come true, which happens to everybody, mine too, then you feel the presence of Ishvara who says, not this one, this could not be happened. And does it in a very loving way. Loving way when your own mind says, wow, this was not to happen. Why not? Because reasons best known to Ishvara. Never makes a mistake. This is a perfect karma-phala combination. And if your desires are not to be fulfilled, you don't feel that disappointed. In the beginning, when all of this was not clear, it was a hit and miss. And you get perturbed. You see, this is the interesting thing. I remember this was I still recall this lesson. I used to work for IBM. I worked for IBM in San Jose in the 60s. And like a young person, I was trying to absorb the wisdom of life. Whenever there was a lecture on how, I was always very interested in how to improve myself. And so anytime there was a lecture and so on and so forth, I would go to it. So there was one lecture where this person was talking about public speaking. I recall that so well. It's like fresh in my mind. So this is what, 60s, so about 55 years ago. Imagine this. And the person said, he says the key to a good public speaking ability is, do not get perturbed about the nervousness that you feel when you're about to give a public talk. This is what he said. And so we all sat there and said, interesting, but how can we not be perturbed about nervousness? Because you are, of course, public speaking, there's different aspects to it. The more prepared you are, the less nervous you will feel. Very obvious. But you still feel nervous. And this is the point that he made. He said, you know what? If you look at your attitude towards public speaking, what you find is you are not as perturbed about not being able to speak well as about the nervousness that you feel before the talk. So he says, please understand that the nervousness about public speaking is very natural. Why is it natural? Because you don't speak publicly every day. You're talking to your spouse and kids and so on. It's very relaxed. All of a sudden there are 200 people sitting there and you are being introduced. Now so You have to get ready. And so the nervousness is a very natural physical instinct to get your whole system working. So he says it's a very healthy thing. Why be perturbed about it? My God, that was like a light bulb. Absolute light bulb, honestly. I really became, my own children, I've been teaching them this, not teaching, but told them this. That changed my life. That you feel nervous, but you feel this is healthy nervousness. If you're really unprepared, then you will feel very nervous, and you shouldn't be that. But if you're prepared, the little bit of nervousness that you feel is very natural. Don't be afraid of it. So what I was saying in this example is that if you feel disappointment from your desires not being accomplished, do not be perturbed about your failure to have the desires fulfilled. It is very natural that if the desires are not fulfilled, there is a little sense of disappointment. It's very natural. Don't be afraid of that. We get more upset about being upset rather than about the desire not being fulfilled. That's the point. So what I find about in wrapping up the sadhyatvam discussion is that as your ability improves to fulfill your desires, you feel happier. And even when they are not fulfilled, you don't feel that disappointed. There is a kind of like a cushion in life. You slough it off and say, oh, big deal. Why? Because it has been double checked by Ishvara, triple checked. That is the progress of the Sadhya Purusha in life. Okay? Alright, having finished the definition of the Sadhya Purusha, now let's go to the Sadhya Rishihi. So Sadhya Rishihi, first there is a Sadhya Purusha, and now you can say the Sadhya Rishaya Purusha. So the quality of the Purusha increases. So the Rishi is at a higher level. What do we mean by Rishi? Let's look into the words and what is the accepted wisdom in Vedanta about the word Rishi. And as you know, the foundation that Swami Dayanandji had founded, and the one that we but we also became a branch, it's called Arsha Vidya. So the word Arsha is the sixth case of Rishi. Sixth case means the sambandha of the Rishi. Rishehe idam iti arsham in Sanskritam. So this is called Rishi's Vidya. The entire thing that we are studying, the entire Vedantic, is Rishi's Vidya. So who is a Rishi? So there are several things to talk about there. So Swami Maheswaranji has pointed out that in the Amara Kosha is the Sanatana dictionary. Sanatana dictionary, Amara Kosha, means that these are definitions that never change. And never change. Like for example, in our Vyavaharika world, the word mouse, it was not there in the way we use it now before 50 years. Mouse was a mouse, running around, creating trouble and so on and so forth. But now the mouse is so completely different. We don't really get accustomed to the other mouse. We are much more talking about the mouse on our laptop. So the definition of the mouse changes. Not so in Amara Kosha. In Amara Kosha, whatever the definitions are there are always the same. So in the Amara Kosha, the definition of Rishi is called Satya Vachasaha. There are different ones. I'll explain different definitions. There are multiple definitions. But the first one is called Satya Vachasaha. means Satyavakta, the one who speaks the truth and who knows the truth. Who knows the truth and speaks the truth. This is what is called Ritam cha Swadhyaya Pravachanena, Satyam cha Swadhyaya Pravachanena. So these two words are used, called Ritam and Satyam. So Ritam means what is the truth given in our textbooks is called Ritam. Satyam is my ability to follow that in my life is called Satyam. So Ritam and Satyam are slightly different but meaning really the same thing. Here Swami Maheshwaranji gave a beautiful example. He said, you were walking on the street and somebody says, sir, what is the time? You look at your wristwatch and you say, it's 10:06. Okay? So this is called Satyam. Why? Because you looked at your wristwatch and it says 10:06. So you just said that to the other person. Okay? It turns out that your watch is 2 minutes fast. The real time is 4 minutes after 10, not 6 minutes after 10. This is the real time. Now, have you spoken untruth? Not really, because you were very honest about it. You did not realize, as it happens in the old analog watches, in the new digital watches it doesn't happen as much, but in the old analog watches your watch becomes faster over time, and before you know it, it's 2 minutes faster. And so you're not saying a lie. You're not speaking that the wristwatch says 10:04 and you're saying it's 10:06 first. Nobody would do that. So this is the difference between Satyam. But the Ritam it is really 10:04. Because the atomic clock in Denver or wherever it is, or in London, says it is 10:04. And so this is the difference between Satyam and Ritam. Anyway, so this is one aspect of it. But the Rishi knows what the truth is and also interprets and leads his life with Satyam. In fact, it's interesting, Swami Maheshwaranji has pointed out that all spiritual disciplines, all religions in fact, have a unique characteristic about them. So take for example the Jains. You know very well, you can guess what their characteristic is. Ahimsa. Ahimsa is their characteristic. That's why they cover their, long before the COVID masks, the Jains used to have these masks around their faces because they don't want to ingest some, they're going overboard. In our opinion, every time you take a step, you're probably killing about 500,000 bugs. And so this kind of it's the question of, your core thinking is based on ahimsa, which is good. It is good. It's called ahimsa. So similarly, Christianity, in the Christians, the primary quality is daya, is kindness towards others, is forbearance. This is what it is. But in the Vedika system, the Vedika social structure, you know what the primary thing is? Satyam. Satyam is the primary quality of the Vedika Dharma. That's why in India, our national slogan is Satyameva Jayate. Satyameva Jayate. So the Sat is the core quality of the rishis. So now let's go forward with this. This is an important thing for us to see. So by the way, this Ritam and Satyam that we talk about can also be looked at it technically within Vedanta as what is called Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat. This is a very important thing, and I'm going to build on this a little bit. So Vyavaharika Sat means transactional truth, whereas Paramarthika Sat means absolute truth. So the person saying it's 10:06 on the wristwatch is Vyavaharika Sat. It is not Vyavaharika Asat. That would be, it's 10:20. You just feel like fooling the other person. That is Asat. But if you looked at it and you conveyed it as accurately as you could see it, it is Vyavaharika Sat. But it is not Paramarthika Sat. Paramarthika Sat is these atomic clocks that everybody has. We have one or two in our houses, which is excellent, so accurate, right down to the millisecond. This is called Paramarthika Sat. So this Paramarthika Sat and Vyavaharika Sat is an important thing for us to understand as we move towards from Vyavaharika Sat to Paramarthika Sat, as we will see that in a few minutes. Anyway, so this is the characteristic of the Rishi. Okay. Now let us look at the importance of this difference between Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat. Okay, so let's just look at that. And this is a very profound subject, and one that one really needs to really listen to it in some depth and understand it with some depth. And I'm just going to give you a quick introduction today. And so we do not have, this is not the right occasion to unfold this, but this is a very important thing for us to understand our reality. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick summary of this for now in the context of the Purusha Suktam, but we can actually spend quite a bit of time particularly in the Kena Upanishad. Not only in Kena, but in all the Brihadaranyaka also and so on. But in the Kena Upanishad, there is a verse which says, Pratibodham viditam matam. Pratibodha viditam matam. That is a key mantra that explains the importance of Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat, which I'll give you a quick introduction so you have at least some idea about it. But this is not the occasion where I can unfold it fully. That takes much more time, and it's not the time for this to do that. Okay? Alright, so I'll begin by saying that a person who is not Vedantin, who is not a Uttara Mimamsa person, but a Purva Mimamsa person, one who is not a Deva. You recall the definition of a Deva. the definition of a deva was one who is not doing yajna for krama mukti, because yajnas are being done for krama mukti, that I am following the strict spiritual path of Vedic karma so that I go to a better place, heaven, and from there slowly this is called krama mukti. So I don't want mukti right now because I don't think that's possible, but I will have it later. So this is a non-deva. In the in the revision of the word deva, as you know, the definition of a deva was where it is not a gauna yajna but a pradhana yajna. That means that I want to sacrifice myself as a karta bhokta, give up my status as that, and I want sadhya mukti, not krama mukti. Sadhya mukti means now. I'm not going to wait because I know the defects of waiting. Krama mukti is that a lot of things can go wrong and do. And in majority of the cases, you have to come back as human beings again after your karma phala is over. And after you enjoy the Swargaloka, unfortunately, when you're having fun, time passes very quickly. Before you know it, it's time to come back. Is krama mukti. And the biggest problem with krama mukti is the anityatvam. It is not nitya. Whereas sadhya mukta is nitya mukti, not understood, yes. But nitya mukti, when it is understood, it is nitya mukti. It's the swarupananda. This is the sadhya mukti. So that is the definition of the deva. Right? That's how the devas start with. So now what we say is that those who are not a deva, who are interested in krama mukti, they are not quite convinced. What do you mean by giving yourself up? I can do some yajna with the priest in the temple or even myself if I'm qualified, but I cannot just sacrifice myself. I'm not a deva. That person who is not deva, who's just a simple purusha, will just stick to vyavaharika sat. And vyavaharika sat is a very important thing. It's a very important thing because not everyone can stick to vyavaharika sat. Not sat. So this was the lesson of Ramayana, whereas Rama's father Dasharatha had given his promise to his wife for the two boons, and when he was very happy to anoint his favorite son Rama as the king of Ayodhya, then he was reminded and he was asked to have renounced the Rama, and he was a Satyavachasaha. He says, I cannot, whatever I said. He could have easily said, did I tell you that? Oh, that must have been when I had a drink or something like that, and I don't really mean it. It's just don't disturb me. Rama is the king. He died speaking the truth. And in fact, one of the things about the adherence to truth, to speaking the truth, is that you have to be a tapaswin. There's a lot of tapas. There's a lot of pressure for you to not to speak the truth. It happens every day, especially from spouses and children, and say, why are you, what's the big deal? Just don't worry about it. And so you have to negotiate that very quickly, and you have to really be that my life is based on truth. And you don't understand how much happiness it can give you, how much peace of mind if you do that. So here's what I'm saying. Now going back to the definition of Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat. So a non-deva sticks to Vyavaharika Sat, sticks to it. Why? Because he or she wants to have Krama Mukti. And if you tell a lie, then it is your whole yajna gets disturbed. So you don't want to do that. So now here's the thing to understand. The Vyavaharika Sat, transactional truth, is sadhya for a non-deva. That itself is the goal. See, this is the thing to see. That itself is the goal. It's called sadhya. But for a jnani, for a deva, if you want to progress in the yajna of becoming a sadhya purusha and then a rishya, speaking truth is a sadhana, not a sadhya. And here's where I will just briefly mention the importance of understanding this vis-a-vis some very important mantras, like in Kena Upanishad I mentioned, and Swami Maheshananji has also referenced some from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and others also. Pratibodha viditam matam. So there it says that Paramarthika Sat is nothing but an expression of, Vyavaharika Sat, what am I saying? Vyavaharika Sat is nothing but an expression of Paramarthika Sat. It is a sadhana, not a sadhya. What does it mean? So this is the thing that one should really think about and learn. That my transactions in life are only because I am always aware. So when you say that I know this, I know what time it is, I know how much heat there is in the room, I know light, and I'm eating something, and I'm drinking something, all of that belies the fact that I'm awareful. If you are not awareful, you will not be aware of anything. You see? So the basic awareness, which is Sakshi, which doesn't change, is at the bottom of all my transactions. Pratibodha. Pratibodha means all the bodhas. Bodham prati, bodham prati, bodham prati. Bodham means any kind of a cognition. I see this, I know this, I hear it. Hearing it also, not just seeing it. Yes, I can hear the words, I can see you. All those cognitions, this is called bodha, pratibodha. Viditam matam. It is only possible because I'm already aware. I'm aware and I'm closing my eyes. I'm aware when I'm opening my eyes. Awareness is my nature. And in a way like this, I'm seeing my reflections everywhere. You can look at it different ways. Any reflection. So if I have a bodha for seeing, then it is my reflection. My ability to see, my ability to hear. Or you can say that I am the very gold, and I see my ornamentation, the very forms, and the forms are really resident on me. So this is what is meant by a rishi is one who jananti, he knows that really the unobstructed, constant awareness is the reason for all transactional awareness. All transactional awareness are due to, they point out to the Paramarthika Sat, which is the Sakshi. That's the difference. So now we can close the loop on this. The non-deva looks at transactional truth as the end result. Whereas for a rishi, the transactional truth, Vyavaharika Sat, is nothing but a springboard to understand Paramarthika Sat. This is the thing. This is the progression from Deva to Sadhya Deva to Rishi Sadhya Deva, to Rishaya. So this is the... so here we can say also some more definition of the word Rishi. They say that Rishi is one who are also called Mantra Drashtara. Mantra Drashtara is called Rishi. What does it mean, Mantra Drashtara? So, also another thing is Rishanti iti Jananti. Rishanti means the one who knows. Knows what? He knows what we just explained. That really all expressions of life are only possible because of the Chetana Vastu. And very interesting thing about this phenomena of looking at things and so on and so forth. So our attempt as human beings is to really to understand who I am. So when we study Vedanta and we say Vedanta is for you to, it's called self-knowledge, isn't it? Self-knowledge. It's called Atma-Jnanam. Leave aside the word Brahma-Jnanam, that's a separate thing. It's the same thing, but leave aside the word Brahma. It's called Atma-Jnanam. That what are you doing? I'm doing self-knowledge. It's classes in self-knowledge. Self-knowledge, okay, very good classes. So what do they show about you? Well, ultimately you'll have to admit that you cannot see yourself. So somebody will say, if you cannot see yourself at all, or not now and you will be able to see later. No, you can never see yourself. That's the case. Why are you wasting your time attending these classes? If the end result is not possible, why go through all this? This is the situation we have. Our attempt is to really know exactly what is going on. Who am I? And you can never say, you can never tell. You can never tell. So the reason is that the Sakshi is not something that you can see. Sakshi is not something you can see. Then how am I going to see? By looking at your reflection you can see. You see, so if you have eyes that you cannot see your own face, but what you can do is to look at the reflection And then you say, oh my God, this is what I look like. So your reflection is pratibodha viditam. All the things that you are doing, you can tell it is only possible because I am the very Sakshi. Otherwise I cannot see all this. This also requires wisdom. Because otherwise we'll say, no, I don't know about that. How can you tell me that I am the Sakshi just by the fact that I'm looking at things? I'm just looking at things and seeing them. What does it mean that I'm a Sakshi? My friend, this is the Viveka we have to do. You have to see that I am the electricity which is powering the entire set of these appliances. Then why can't I see myself as the electricity? But you can see your whole presence because you're the very Sakshi, you're not an object. So, the Rishi is the one who knows this. This is what is called mantra drashtara. So this truth is actually given in the mantras. So the ones who are looking at the truth of the mantras are called mantra drashtara. They are called rishis. And so this is the progress. So from Deva to Sadhya to Rishaya. So this is exactly what the whole thing is there. One very interesting thing to see is that there is a book called Sankshepa Sharirakam. Sankshepa Sharirakam. It was written by Sarvagyatma Mahamuni. Sarvagyatma Mahamuni. So Sharirikam means Sharire Bhavam. So one who which dwells in the body. Atma. So this book is a very concise form of Brahma Sutra. It's called Sankshepa Sharirikam. And I was very fortunate to actually listen to this from Swami Dayanandji in the year 2002. And so he took a 10-day, just a short version of this. And since then I studied the whole book all by myself. It's called Sankshepa Sharirikam. In that book there is a mantra which is given, which is called, so there you can, because it is written by a human being, you cannot call it a mantra. It means a shloka. Shloka means ashrayatva vishayatva ashrayatva vishayatva ashrayatva vishayatva bhagini nirvibhaga chiti eva kevala. This is the one. So what does it mean? It says the following. He says that the Atma is both the Ashraya as well as the Vishaya. It splits itself into two in the transactions of life. So it is both the Ashraya, means it is the very repository of all the experiences, the repository of all the experiences, as well as what is experienced is also nothing but the Atma. Vibhagini means it splits itself up. And without really splitting itself up, it splits up into two. Okay? So here's the meaning. Swami Maheshananji pointed this out so very clearly in this book, Purusha Suktam. It says, look at this. Suppose you look at yourself in the mirror. Okay? Now, what do you see in the mirror? You see, among other things, a pair of eyes looking back at you. Isn't it? You look at the mirror and you see a pair of eyes, and from there you can actually say, oh, this is what I look like. So you see the pair of eyes as an object in the mirror, isn't it? And who sees the object in the mirror? Your own eyes. So you are now both the ashraya of this phenomena as well as the vishaya of this phenomena. You see this? So the vishaya of the phenomena are the two eyes looking back at you, and the ashraya of this phenomena are the two eyes that is making that happen. And do you know something? Both of them are one and the same. They are not two things. Why not are they two things? Because one is, in that one, Paramarthika Sat, the other one is Vyavaharika Sat. So the Vyavaharika Sat points out to Paramarthika Sat. So that's why it says, Ashrayatva Vishayatva Bhagini Nirvibhaga Chiti iti eva kevala. He says the one single Sakshi, Akhanda Akara Vritti. It now splits itself into two. This is exactly what happens in our dreams also. So you are the dreamer and you are also the dreamt. And so you as the consciousness, in order to create this drama, split yourself up into two parts. One becomes the drashta and the other one becomes the drishya. And so just like, for example, the only way you can see yourself is to see your reflection. Similarly, when you see that all of my experiences of seeing, hearing, talking, etc. is nothing but it belies to the fact that I am conscious. Same consciousness. The seeing consciousness is not different from the hearing consciousness. It's the same consciousness. Same consciousness for everyone. Not like your consciousness is different from mine. It's the same consciousness when I was 5 years old. Same consciousness when I was 50. Same consciousness now. Whenever there is something there, it is only the same consciousness. This the Rishi knows very clearly. So this is the progression that we go through. From becoming a Deva, then become a Sadhya, and then becomes the Rishi. So the Rishi is the one who sees things as they are. There is no confusion in their mind. There is no Brahma. They see exactly as things are. And if there is something which, some experience which comes up, they know exactly what it is for, how it comes about. So this is the Rishi. And for that person, you are now very close to the very quality of Ishvara. Because Ishvara's creation through the Maya Shakti it's a Shakti, it's a power, but it doesn't really confuse the Ishvara because he's the very creator of it. And the Rishi now also begins to see the whole phenomena of the experiences and sees the truth behind it. So that's why it is called Rishi. So, with that, we close verse number 9. And we will now begin from next class on. It's almost too late to begin it now. The next verse, which is number 10, which says Yat Purusham Vyadaduhu Katidha Vyakalpayan Mukham Kimasya Kao Bahu Kavuru Pada Uchchede. This is the 10th one. And after that there is only 2 other mantras that we will take up to wrap up the entire Purusha Suktam. So 9 are done, 3 more are left, and we will begin the next one, which is number 10. So I'll just give you a 1-minute introduction to the 10th verse. So here, the progression of the teaching in the Purusha Suktam is there are 4 different stages that are being, 4 different aspects, I would say, not stages, but 4 different aspects. The one is called Adi Purushaha. The Adi Purushaha is Shiva Vishnu. Okay. The second one from there is Virat Purushaha, Brahmaji. Hiranyagarbha is the Virat Purushaha. So this is what it is. Remember that we did in the very beginning. Padoho asya vishwabhutani tripadasya mritan divi tripadurdvaha udait purushaha padoho asya iha abhavat punaha tato vishwam vyakramat sashananshane abhi tasmat virad jayata. So Virat is born, and Virat Purushaha was the one who had the knowledge of the self-knowledge already, and he is the beginning of the whole creation in this kalpa. In this kalpa, every kalpa has a new Virat Purushaha. Then Virajo Adi Purushaha Sajataha Attirichyata. And so the next one after that becomes the Yajna Purushaha. Yajna Purushaha means the various jivas like you and I are Yajna Purushaha, means Yajna Yogya. They are now fit for doing Yajna. And so Attirichyata means that they were separated in the sense that they were not sure who they were. They are still created with all the powers and so on, but they were not certain about who they were. And that is the purpose of the yajna, that you understand exactly what is going on. And when you do that, you really become one with the Adi Purusha itself. Now in this progression, which we have now completed up to the Yajna Purusha, there is one more aspect to look at, which is called Samaja Purusha. Samaja Purusha. So the verse number 10 is about the Samaja Purusha. It means the Yajna Purusha who is a social being. Social being. So this is the infrastructure. So Ishvara has given the infrastructure for us to grow upon. It's like the scaffolding. This is the word that was used by Swami Paramarthananda of Chennai. Beautiful word. Beautiful concept. He says that if we have to build a solid structure to ourselves, who are we? One that time cannot even dismantle, then we need some scaffolding to help us build this. So the scaffolding is the Varna Ashrama system. The Varna system and the Ashrama system. Ashrama system, of course, as you know, is the 4 ashramas of one life. Each life has 4 ashramas. So it is Brahmachari, Grihastha, then Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. These are the 4. And whether you do it formally or not, but the progression of qualities and so on is the ashrama. The other, so this is a 2-dimensional one. So one is the ashrama system. The other one is the Varna system. Varna system means the classification of people and their qualities. This is what is called Samaja Purusha. So we have to understand both dimensions, because we are not born by ourselves. We are born out of a family. My mother and father launched me. Immediately I have a relationship with them and with my brothers and sisters and my neighbors and my friends and everything. So the question is, how do I see myself in this second dimension, which is not my own ashrama, but as a Samaja Purusha, Varnam Ashrama. The 10th verse is all about that. And this is what we will study. And the purpose of, by the way, the purpose of the Samaja Purusha is not for the Samaja. Samaja means society, social structure. It's not for the Samaja, but for myself. Everything is really for the growth of a sadhaka. It's not as, of course, you can also do good to others at the same time. Like you know, this COVID is a very, very potent example of this. That what is good for you is also good for others. If you wear a mask, then it protects you and it also protects others. And which one it protects more, we don't know. Doesn't matter. You wear it. Wear it. And then, so both you reduce your transmission of this to others, and you also protect yourself. So this is the Samaja Purusha. So we will go into this in much more detail, and we'll see how the Purusha Suktam actually launches this aspect of it by asking some questions. Katidha vyakalpayan mukhan kimaha asya kim bahu kavuru pada uchchede. Who are they? Who's the mouth? All of that will be coming up. And so that is the subject of the next mantra that we will do. So now let's see, where are we? Today is the 15th. So we will have the next Tuesday class. I have to think about, because I already gave some dates about the Saturday class, but I had not given it to the Tuesday. So today is 15th. And so I think we will have the next Tuesday class on the 22nd. So hopefully we will have that, and we will go over verse number 10 there. Okay? Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Alright. Krishna Ryan, Darshana, Jairaj, Anjali Deshmukh, Shruti Harve, Gajananam, Suvarna Banjara, both the Banjaras I would say, and Surendra Bhargava, Mary Penn, Jaya Chowdhury, Arvind Taylor, Shanti Kumar Chiluka, Panna Bhuva, Kalpana Dave, Bharat Dave, Satish Jalota, Prakash Nair, Sudha Tomar, Zarina Kaji, Subroto Bose, Balamani, Raj Velpuri, Virendra Singh, Subhash Jain, Sulekha Chaudhary, Krishna Birru, Keshav Chopra, Shankar Narsiman, Ila Joshi, Mr. T. Srinivasan, Natalya, Gauranga Krishnamurthy, I got your email, thank you. Sam Dillon, Sulochana Lulla, Sudeep Kumar Joshi. I'm still not quite sure where are you and who you are, so if you can tell me, that would be good. Send me an email. Vijayam Krishnan, also a new name I think. I'm not sure about you, so if you could send me some information. Kamala Shankar and Jairaj. Thank you, Shanti Kumar, for your comments. Happy that it resonates with you and others. Don't see any questions on this so far, so let me wait for a few minutes to see if you have any, and then we will call it a day. Alright, I don't see any questions, so appreciate your presence in the class. So wonderful of you to all tune in, and I will see you next week. Om.